Welcome to Tech Talk Live, the new podcast brought to you by Targus. I'm Cynthia Playtez. I head up social media at Targus. On today's episode, Defining Sustainability and Eco-Conscious Decisions in Enterprise, you'll hear from Dave Brown, Targus Europe and EMEA Marketing Director, and I on what sustainability really means and how Targus is reimagining the way sustainability looks and feels, from our supply chains to design and distribution, to the moment when eco-friendly solutions arrive in your hands, home, and workspaces. Listen in. Hi, listeners. Thanks for joining us. I'm Cynthia. I head up Targus Socials, and today we have Dave Brown, our Marketing Director at Targus Europe and EMEA, who's based out of Targus's London headquarters, who I have the pleasure of working with. Dave is an essential member of Targus's sustainability efforts, which includes our purpose-driven journey, which we'll talk a little bit more about. Dave, it's so great to have you with us on the podcast.
Hi, Cynthia. It's great to be here. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Absolutely. It's a busy month for us here and for businesses and people globally, right? It's April. It's Earth Month. So naturally, we're talking about sustainability here. Just wanted to give a little bit of context into how Earth Day started during April. So it actually started in 1970 in the spring. US Senator Gaylord Nelson created Earth Day as a way to force this issue onto the national focus. 20 million Americans demonstrated in the US cities, and it worked. According to EPA.gov, it's now extended into a global monthly effort. Now, we're happy about that, right? But there's a lot of conversation around sustainability in that term. But what does that really mean? So it goes beyond a monthly effort, doesn't it? So Dave, talk to me about what the word sustainability means to you. What does it mean for Targus as a brand?
Absolutely. Yeah, great fact, Cynthia. I never knew that, so thanks for informing me about that. And as you say, April is Earth Month, and it means I think it's great news that the subject is everyone's thinking about it and talking about it just as we are now. But I agree that sustainability should be in our hearts and minds. It should be something we're thinking about as individuals, employers, and employees the whole time. So, in terms of your question, what does sustainability mean for me? Well, I love nature, and I chose to live in the UK countryside and not in the big city. So I'm just outside of London, as you mentioned, in the UK. And that's really because I love to walk, I love to run, and I love to see the trees and plants and the birds and animals in the wild. And I particularly love going running, first thing in peaceful, which is amazing. And just stopping and listening to the birds and looking at the plants. I think these are things that we sort of take for granted. And I think that the important thing when I mention this is that we need to realize that we only have one planet. There's no planet trying to protect that planet. Otherwise, all these things that we take for granted may not be there anymore for our children or our grandchildren to see and to use. So, from a personal perspective, Cynthia, that's why I choose to be part of Targus's global sustainability team, and I'm really proud to be part of that team.
Wonderful. And what about from a brand perspective? What does that mean organizationally? What does that kind of look like at a high level? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, we have a global sustainability team at Targus, and there's a group of us that are absolutely passionate about shouting about sustainability across business. And I guess if you take the individuals and put them together, I think we can only become stronger. So we know that as individuals, we can make small differences in the choices we make every day, what we eat, we choose to buy, and how we recycle our waste. But for me, it's big companies. It's companies like Targus that can really make the difference. I think it's almost companies such as Targus have a duty to make the difference, and that's what I feel like as Targus as a global player in the laptop and tech and the case industry. I think we've got a duty to make a difference here and be that force for positive change that we position ourselves. And really, it's our mission, I think as a whole company, and certainly the sustainability team at Targus, is to make sure that sustainability is part of our DNA here. So making sure that it's part of every single decision we make, no matter how big or small. And that's what I would say to everyone in the company is, no matter what your role is, you can make a difference. And I think combining our powers together, that really makes sure that Targus can be at the forefront of in our push for sustainability.
So it sounds like it's a little bit about doing more to impact less, right? Organizationally and personally, it's those everyday choices, and even purchase habits, right, that can make the biggest difference collectively, like you said. So what about greenwashing? That's a relatively newer term. It alludes a little bit to some of the claims that brands and those in marketing, like we're in marketing, but we definitely stay away from that. They make false claims or misleading marketing claims about their eco-friendly practices. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, or how consumers could be careful and kind of arm themselves with some tools to stay away from that?
Yeah, I think it's another great question. I think greenwash in the news every day these days, with some pretty big brand names sort of being accused of this. I guess it's probably because there's often big commercial gains to be made with the sort of sustainability sector. Sorry, many sort of customers and partners that we deal with from a business perspective, they won't deal with you unless you have sustainability credentials, and many large public tenders are also heavily weighted towards those brands that do claim sustainability. And I think for me, for the individual, it's about, I guess, doing your homework. So checking out that companies have those independent certifications and measures that are required here to overcome the issue. So EcoVadis, we'll probably talk about that a little bit later, is a certification, that independent certification that Targus uses to measure itself. So I think it's about doing a bit of homework around the back before you look at a brand that you want to follow, or maybe a piece of clothing or an article you want to buy, to really tackle, I guess, some of those sort of bigger issues around greenwashing.
And a sort of sister of greenwashing is fast fashion. So they go hand in hand. Fast fashion, how does that affect the environment? You know, the depletion of non-renewable resources, and how can product quality play a role here? Kind of the life cycle of a product, and those. What are some decisions, like, again, that consumers can make? You mentioned kind of just educating themselves, right, a bit with kind of what they're doing before they make that purchase decision. But what about fast fashion? How does that tie a role here?
Yeah, I think it is about education, as we touched on. I mean, fast fashion, I guess, it can be very harmful for the environment. I mean, the example I would use, I've got a couple of daughters, and I used to see them sort of ordering 4, 5, 6 articles of clothing at a time, because it's reasonably cheap. And then what they would do is either send the majority of the goods back. I mean, when you send clothing back, what happens to it? I don't even know. Or they would wear stuff once and then wear it never again, and eventually throw it out. And I think it's so detrimental to our planet. So I'm pleased to say, in that example, we've managed to educate them and what they do now is they will give all these clothes a second life, by either selling them on some of the big branded websites, or giving them to a charity shop. So I think really it's about the quality in products like the Targus products that can play a significant role here. I think there's a saying that says, "Buy once, buy well." There's also another one, funny enough, that says, "Buy cheap, buy twice," which is very interesting. And this is what we try and do at Targus, I think, and offer consumers well-designed, high-quality product that lasts forever. And our lifetime warranty on our laptop case and tablet cases means really is testimony to that. And as we said earlier, I think it's about consumers educating themselves, being choiceful. Often, quality products are not the most cheapest on the market, but I think by making those sort of like choices, I think you can often buy a product which can almost last forever, and feel like you're doing your bit as also for the planet.
Absolutely, that education is key, and these conversations that we're having and kind of putting it at front of mind, and also just being aware, right, of a little bit of what's going on behind the scenes. But it's important for brands to be transparent in order for consumers to be able to access that information, right, and that learning. So I know at
Yeah,
Targus
absolutely.
we're working hard to kind of take tangible steps in the right eco-conscious directions, from ethical sourcing, supply chain partners, and even our marketing messages, making sure that there's transparency there. Can you walk us through, Dave, what are some of the efforts that Targus has made to address sustainability from a corporate responsibility to taking better care of our planet for generations after us to come? So give us a little bit of a taste of what's going on behind the scenes at Targus.
Yeah, I think your what you said about transparency is super important, really. Here, it's about being transparent with our customers and also our end consumers. And hey, we don't always get it right. I think it being open there is certainly important. And we are at Targus are certainly on a journey, as we'd say, and I think we've made some good steps on that journey so far. And I think, yeah, really, in terms of sort of progress, we I think things like as we talked about, the independent certification, I think is testimony to some of the steps that we've made so far. So we've just, I'm pleased to say, been awarded our latest EcoVadis bronze certification. And I'm pleased to say that we've been placed in the top 16% of companies in the computer peripheral equipment and software industry. So that's testimony, I think, to how far we've come so far. But for me, really, it's about the journey to looking forward. And really, as a team, we look to try and break down our sustainability plans into sort of bite-sized chunks. As we've touched on, it's really about individuals making a difference and working collectively to make that bigger difference. And we have experts in our team who focus on those sort of like key areas and report back to the bigger team internally on our sustainability report, which we wrote our first one or launched our first one last year, and we're just in the process of writing our 2024 plan. And really, it's around sort of 4 key focus areas, Cynthia. So circularity is the first one. So looking at responsible sourcing, designing our products for circularity, looking at lifetime warranties, etc.
Okay.
Social responsibility and human rights is super important as well. So ethical sourcing, working conditions, and supporting community efforts. Our CO2 reduction plans, so looking into low carbon materials, carbon offsetting, and packaging and distribution. So those are really the sort of the 4 areas. And on packaging, we're looking to reduce waste, streamline our logistics, etc. And I think what we try and do is align everything around sort of UN Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. So again, aligning ourselves back to independent sort of certifications and measurement areas to ensure that there isn't any sort of greenwashing involved. And I guess just wanted to, if that's okay with you, Cynthia, just touch on what is there as maybe product in a bit more detail. Shall I go into a bit more detail there?
Yeah, because some of these efforts have been going on for quite some time, right? So EcoVadis is a newer rating that we're proud of here at the team, and the focus area that you're talking about, kind of globally and organizationally aligning with UN efforts. And maybe our listeners want to hear a little bit more about the product journey, like you mentioned. Kind of when did that start, and where are we now? Where are we headed?
Yeah, really interesting. So we started in 2008, so that's a long time ago. I'm sure before a lot of our listeners on the call today were even born. So we launched our first eco product, which is Eco Spruce backpack, sort of back in 2008. And I would say we talked a little bit earlier about the education side of things, and I think at Targus, what we try and do is we've created a collection called EcoSmart. So I would say to our listeners, look for the EcoSmart label. If you can see an EcoSmart label product, you're buying a sustainable product. And really, from a laptop case perspective, as I said, when we started our journey in 2008, we've been building on that journey ever since. And it's a pretty cool process, actually, what we've got in terms of how we take plastic water bottles that we make sure are GRS certified. And we reform them to plastic pellets, and we convert the pellets into yarn. which is then woven into material which we use to make our cases. So it's a great process to actually watch. And at latest count, I think, and you'll see in our upcoming sustainability, almost at 22 million plastic water bottles that have been recycled and saved from landfill or oceans. And then just to carry on the product vein, our latest launch in the laptop case category is our new Coastline collection. So I'd ask the visitors or the listeners to look out for that category. We're working with a company called Ocean Cycle, again, a registered independent third-party company. And our collection is really made not just to safeguard our tech, or your tech, sorry, to protect your laptops, etc., but to help protect our coastal communities from ocean plastic pollution. So these joint efforts between Targus and Ocean Cycle really support the collection of ocean-bound plastics, look to reduce CO2 emissions and protect our seas, because there's some crazy stats out there, Cynthia. We were reading the other day that our oceans are flooded with something like 5 trillion pieces of toxic plastic, which is obviously endangering our marine life, our beautiful seas, our beautiful animals and fish in our seas. So it's great, again, to be sort of putting back something. An Ocean Cycle are a great company. They actually take a lot of the money that they get from these plastics and rework these plastics and put them back into local communities that are affected by this. So again, it's a circular sort of nature of doing stuff, helping out the environment, but also helping out local communities. And that's really what Targus is about. It's about building on small things. It's about taking our past and really looking towards our future to ensure that we're on that journey for the better.
Thank you for that, Dave. Thanks for sharing Targus's sustainability journey, right? Because it's really a journey. And like you said, we don't have all the answers, but talking the talk, trying to walk the walk, working with reputable companies to certify our processes, aligning globally as a collective team to really imagine what sustainability looks and feels like for us from a supply chain to design and distribution is something that is really close to our hearts here. So thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on our latest episode of Tech Talk Live podcast. As Dave mentioned, we're on a journey to find better, more productive ways to protect, connect, and upgrade your life. So stay tuned for all things Targus on the next Tech Talk Live podcast, and follow us on social media to discover new ways to join the journey. Let us know how you're taking part in Earth Day and tag us on social media. Dave Brown, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.